confirmation. I think we're ready to go. Good morning all, and welcome to the first Talking Cafe of April 2021. Believe it or not, it is April. I can't personally. I'm Dan, a village agent for the Sedgemoor team, and I have the absolute pleasure of introducing Marianne from Happy Glastonbury. And today we'll be just discussing a subject believed by many to be extremely beneficial on many levels, and that is crystal healing. Good morning, Marianne. It's such a pleasure that you're here.
Good morning, Dan. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. I wonder if we could start by if we could start with you, because you're a wonderful guest to have here. If we could talk about how you found crystals to be such a bonus in your life, the crystal healing, crystal therapy, and the book, what led you to write your book, and how things all formed in that part earlier on in your life, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so you're asking me to go back a long way. So it started, I suppose, when I was first married and I had my children and I was working and my husband was working and he became ill. And I think what happens is you find things when you're meant to find them. And for me, I found crystals when I suppose I was going through a lot of difficulties. So difficulties in relationship, difficulties coping with children, trying to work. It's really difficult for women, I think, particularly of my generation, because the future generations kind of stand on our shoulders. So we were the first generation where women were expected to go to work. So, was having our children. We was going to work almost straight away. It was really tough, I think, because we was breaking all the rules of what was happening in my parents' time. That
were you still in the West Country? Was that here still?
At the time, we was living in Swindon in Wiltshire.
All right.
And my parents had moved to the coast. They had moved down to Minehead, and I felt, I suppose, a little bit adrift, because it was just work and struggle and trying to pay bills and things. And so I started looking, and I think this is the thing in life. You come to a point and things change, and it's usually little signs along the way that lead you to something. And my something was crystals. I just adored crystals. And I opened a little shop in Minehead because I kind of followed the route of my parents. And the shop sold crystals and jewelry, which was my passion.
Lovely.
Which led us to be able to be free from the kind of rat race in Swindon, which was really tough on my partner, who at the time had diabetes, and he was constantly being really, really ill and not being able to work. So the responsibility for keeping the bills met and the mortgage paid, and that was left to me a lot of the time. So what happened was I was working with the crystals. More and more people were coming in and talking about the crystals. Some wonderful healers in the West Country, who many of them have now passed, but they would come in and share information and say, did you know about this? And have you tried this crystal for that? And I was a sponge. I was looking for anything that could help me. And I remember going to my doctor once, and I was talking about the stress of the situation of being a mum and all the things that we're supposed to be, all the hats I had to wear, and running a business full time. And he said to me, well, we call it hypertension. He said, you've got hypertension. You really need to look at this and what's happening to you and why it's happening to you. And I took it on board, and I thought, well, I didn't want tablets because he could give me tablets for it, and I didn't want tablets. And I thought, well, I'll go away and I'll research a little bit more about the crystals. And I found that crystals gave me some kind of peace of mind. It gave me a way to control my emotions a little bit more. And once I had control of my emotions, everything else seemed to fall into place.
That's wonderful. Which ones do you think, if I may ask, were you particularly drawn to first, considering considering that was the hypertension, stress, anxiety, pressure, which is what a lot of people now, with or without the COVID situation, are feeling at the moment. I know, the relationship with crystals is person-centered as a lot of things, but I'm curious as to which ones that you were most drawn to, which ones that you were most connected to, considering that was what you were dealing with life at that time, if you don't mind me asking.
Well, strangely enough, it isn't the prettiest ones, and it's not going to be sort of crystals per se, as in the quartz crystals and the rose quartz and those. It wasn't those. It was more the sort of first I tried pyrite, I tried hematite. There was a little bit of shungite around them, but not much. A lot of things like that was sort of, you've got to bear in mind, you didn't have the crystals availability we have today. So we were only able to get certain crystals. We could get labradorite and we could get normal crystals, but you couldn't get the more lesser known ones. And they were the ones that I was using. So what happened was my passion led to me writing lots of notes. So there's lots of notes, and in the shop we would have, hematite is used to sort of help ground your emotional stress and your energies and works on your lower chakras, and it does help to bring
got that. Yeah.
And it helps to bring the aura in. And you, of course, along with learning about crystals, next came the whole thing about spirituality and all the different veins, if you like, of spirituality. So that was the next big step. So when people talk about a journey, this is exactly what it is. It's a journey you start, and you can't expect success straight away. For most people, any spiritual journey or any journey of self-discovery takes time, and you go down a lot of wrong routes before you find what works for you. So I was experiencing lots of different things with the crystals I was working with, but each crystal opened another door to say, well, what are auras? So then I had to find out about auras and how auras affected how we interacted with the crystals. And the other thing is, although I'm a Piscean, so I'm a very watery sign, so I'm very emotional anyway. What I noticed was that once I had control of my emotions, once I could control them better, I mean, I've never got total control of them, but once I have got better control of my emotions.
No one has, yeah.
I could bring my aura in. I could have a little bit more space, if you like, to separate myself from everything going on around me. And that was the issue I was learning at the time. I was learning about how I was interacting with all the, if you like, inanimate, but also the animate things in my life. So in my environment, as at home, but also at work. And of course, we absorb so much from other people, and I was absorbing other people's emotions. So, if a customer comes in, or if the children are upset, you feel what they're feeling. So what starts off as a good day becomes a really, really stressful day, because you're dealing with your own things, and then you're dealing with other people's things as well. So then that led me to get more scientific about it, because still being an emotional Piscean, I have this brain that goes, but how does it work? Because this can't possibly work. It's a piece of rock. And that was it. It was that little thing that kept going, but how does it work? How does it work? And so with all my little bits of information that I collected from lots of different healers, and there are so many healers in the West Country, I think they must gravitate to there. So that was brilliant for sort of gathering information when I was younger. And then it was experimenting and working with it and talking to other people and telling them my information and asking them to sort of try it. And then they would come back and say, do you know, that really worked. That was amazing. That worked for me. So it was back in 95, we moved to Glastonbury. That was a fresh start for me and my children. My relationship had finished. So we came to Glastonbury. And we opened within a very short time, matter of weeks, because I had to have an income, and I didn't know what else to do. And it's like, this is my passion. So I opened a shop in Glastonbury, and with all my little bits of information on all the crystals, and it was basically just a crystal shop at the time when we first opened. I was surprised because a lot of the shops that are here now weren't here then. So I was surprised how many crystals we sold and how many people would come in and they would walk around looking at the crystals and they would go, not too sure about this, but what do you think? I've read your little write-up. And particularly men. I think men were more skeptical than women. So
Definitely, yeah.
it was very interesting to see men come in and look at, because we had a very big table full of all the tumbled crystals and rough, more moderately priced crystals and minerals in rough form. And it was just surprising to see how the men in particular would come and choose a crystal. And I got very good at thinking, I could almost tell what was wrong with that person or why he wanted that crystal, because you get so in tune with the crystals and with people, you're picking up so much from them. And all that information then went into sort of notes and then went into a really just like a book for me. And just again, how there's no coincidences in life. I do believe that things happen for a reason. And there was another little signpost happened at the time. And I was contacted by C.W. Daniels, who had a lovely little book out, which was their bestseller, called something about dowsing. It was a dowsing book. And it was a booklet. And they said they were doing phenomenally well with it. And would I put in a manuscript of my sort of findings and my writings? Because they would like to have a book on crystal healing. So I sent this manuscript off and thought no more of it, because it wasn't something that was in my radar at the time. And they wrote back almost immediately and said, could you give me some titles for another half a dozen chapters? So I thought, well, yes, I can do that. I've learned from that period of my life up until then to try and say yes as often as possible to things and be pushed out of my comfort zone and just give it a go, because I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I can look a complete idiot, or you just got to sometimes go for things and go, well, we worry too much what other people think. And that is, and particularly women, but I think we all do. So for
definitely.
me, it was, well, okay, so what we really need is maybe a list of what crystals you would use for what ailments. And then one of the most popular asked questions is, well, okay, so this crystal is good for this, but how do I use it? So then I did this whole thing about how to use it and how to do the crystal healing, and how you would, if you had somebody on a couch or sitting in a chair, what you would actually do with the crystals. And they absolutely loved it. And it was published very quickly, within sort of 9 months or so. And it came out in 96, I think, was the date we first had the book. And it was the first book in the UK that talked about crystals and healing properties. And it was the only book that's, as far as I knew, anywhere within the years that followed, that said how to use them. And it was picked up very quickly by book club associates. So, they I don't think they still are around these days, but back in those days, they had these collections on the back of the TV magazines and things, and you'd send off so many books. Well, we sold thousands of books. I mean, I was absolutely astonished at how many books sold. And so
what was it called?
It was called The Crystal Healer.
Oh,
it was very simple, just The Crystal Healer. And from that, then it was translated into 7 different languages, and it just sort of went, well, it felt like, to me, it went global. It's like, wow, what's happened? It really went really quickly. So the success of the book was wonderful. I'd never expected that. And what followed on from that was I was constantly asked by a lot of other healers and Reiki masters and people in Glastonbury about the healing technique and how it works and how I believe it works. And from that, eventually, the crystal healing course that you see, the certificated courses, if you look at the information in them, it's everything that's in my book. That is what is taught in those courses, which is wonderful, because it stood the test of time, and people are still teaching this same kind of theory of healing. And so that for me was quite huge. I never expected
you created the blueprint where other people followed with regards to their books, like the little pocket books of crystal healing and the crystal Bible. advice that they kind of give. I mean, yes, I mean, it may be many other people's interpretations, you know, judging from their own background and what made them feel at one with the particular crystals that mean the world to them. But I mean, it all came from the kind of the same source, really, didn't it?
Well, I think what happened was it made people stop and look at crystals in a different way. And
Yeah.
because my passion has always been, as I've said, to go and sort of delve into the mysteries and find out where this came from, I sort of followed shamanism, and you know, it took me abroad into many different countries and places to find out more information.
The Hindu beliefs in everything as well, with regards to their
It is.
chakras. It's like,
It
yeah,
is. That's right. I mean, when you start looking, it is actually everywhere, and that's
yeah,
that's amazing, you know, because
yeah,
I think it's just sort of legitimized a little bit, crystal healing, and people take it a little bit more seriously. And I think at the moment we're going through another wave. We're going through another huge wave where people are getting very interested again. And whether it's, I mean, not just because of the pandemic, because obviously the pandemic's been a difficult time for so many people, that goes without saying. But I think even the year before the pandemic, people were beginning, we say it's another generation, and maybe that's what it is. You know, we every 10 years you have a kind of a hippie wave, and you notice that in Glastonbury, you know, you get all the flower
yeah,
power and all that, and that's beautiful. I love
yeah.
all that. But the crystal, the theory of crystal healing and the therapy of crystal healing does go in a huge wave, and I think at the moment we've just started another huge wave, so that's wonderful, and more people are getting interested. There's more books being written. I mean, we have dozens of
Yeah.
books now on crystal healing, which is fantastic. You know, it's
Yeah,
really
more people are
helpful.
finding a huge amount of comfort as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
especially those that have been experiencing stress, anxiety, especially those that have been experiencing isolation. You know, they've almost had the carpet taken from under their feet, and they were wondering
yeah,
which way to take them, personally, professionally, and so many challenges have been faced, and you know, the situation that people can find themselves in, if they chose to, if they wanted to, if they were allowing themselves to open their mind towards the more holistic side of things. You
yeah,
know, there's
definitely.
people that can find crystals to be, you know, crystal healing and crystal therapy to be a huge comfort blanket for them. Like same as you, really. I mean, there's so many people that may have, like you said, how can you find comfort or anything from a piece of rock? But you know, once you allow yourself to, you know, explore that and try it, then you
Yeah,
know, there's new people that can just get it. It's almost like it just fits. You know, you never expected it to, but when you're holding something, or when you're wearing
yeah,
something, or when you
yeah,
allow yourself to be at one with something, you know, you genuinely find, you know, that comforting hug that you wouldn't be able to get from anywhere else. Like you said before, when you know, when you allowed yourself to be, you know, experience with that, and you know, you find the confidence to move forward, you find the confidence to challenge yourself, you know, you find yourself overcoming the vice-like pressures that you know, that circumstances put you in, and you were able to move forward. You were able to be empowered and move forward in that way, which is a wonderful thing. And I do hope that people that are listening to this today, you know, find themselves thinking, you know, perhaps this could be me. That might be the missing piece that I need. You know, this
yeah.
might be something that could really help me. When you said about the you know, the healing processes itself, would you be able to go more into that? You know, how crystals are placed, or how the best way one can, you know, utilize them, make the most of them, maintain them, and keep them as part of their life?
Well, I think first of all, it's important that we understand a little bit how crystals work, because the
Yes.
expectation, you know, it's all about your expectation in things. So when people think about healing, when you're talking about alternative therapies, the word healing really means um, taking responsibility for what's happening in your life, which has an effect on your body. Really, that's what you're talking about. It's not talking about mending a broken leg. You know, we're talking
No.
about how we can heal the body and the soul and the mind. Because when that's whole, we can do anything. We're empowered, as you said. So
Yeah.
if you think of a quartz crystal, and you look at it, you would say, well, this is an object that is formed by Mother Earth, and it might be very beautiful to look at, but it doesn't look as if it could actually do anything, does it? It just looks like a beautiful piece of crystal.
Yeah.
But the reality is, and this is what fascinates me, because it sort of justifies everything that I thought before and that I'd learned from shaman in Africa or America, was that your DNA strand, right, carries information. It carries a lot of information. But within your DNA strand is something called piezoelectricity. Now, it's a very subtle piezoelectricity. It's very, very subtle. And scientists at NASA about 11, 12 years ago discovered the same electricity is inside quartz crystal. It's inside some other minerals, but it's mostly the quartz crystals that you find it in. And one of the things that I found most helpful about the quartz family, when I started working with the quartz family, was it has the ability to change something. I don't know what it changes, because I don't have all the answers. If I had all the
No.
answers, I wouldn't be sat here, would I? I would have ascended or something. So what I know is that when I hold, say, a piece of quartz crystal in my hand, just clear quartz, I feel energized. I feel like somebody has cleaned my aura, has popped all the bubbles of baggage that I was worrying about, all those little dark clouds in my aura. And I feel like, hey, I've got a starting point. Today I can do this or I can do that. It somehow gives me energy. If I'm holding smoky quartz, for example, smoky quartz, it's absolutely amazing for working with migraines and headaches and those things that really trouble the mind. So hold it on the head, hold it on the forehead, and just breathe through the crystal, and it will take away a migraine. If you can relax, it will take away. It's sort of it. Our DNA strands are these lovely little twirly, quirly strands, right? But
Yeah.
we have evidence. People have done lots of tests on this, and when you relax, your DNA strands relax, so your body can self-heal. And that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to heal ourselves. So smoky quartz pyramid, a smoky quartz point, a piece of smoky quartz tumbled even, if you pop it on your forehead and you're feeling really anxious or, like a migraine or a panic attack, it can really help. That's wonderful. If you're experimenting with your development, your spiritual development, with your psychic development, if you want to get control of your dreams, and I say that because a lot of people have night sweats and night dreams that really stress them out, or they replay in their mind events or situations that they worry about. If you learn to control that, you can stop it happening, because you then have control of your dream. And you can do that with amethyst. Amethyst is amazing to again, go to bed with, cuddle, meditate, pop on the third eye. It really does help you to get control of your intuition and your psychic abilities. And once you've got control of them, the possibilities are absolutely endless. It's an amazing quartz to work with, men and women. It's not just a female one for women, it's men and women.
Or in a geode form, just in the room. Yeah.
A geode in the room is beautiful. It can change the energy in a room, and it can make what could be a very unharmonious energy in a room, because there are energies in the room, the whole thing about feng shui and things like that. But just by putting a geode in, if you put a quartz geode in, say, the kitchen area and the dining area, you might find that suddenly everybody's got more energy, they're more talkative, they're more expressive. It's a wonderful thing to put in there. If you have a lot of stress in the house, you could put something like the smoky quartz in there to calm the energies down a little bit, or, a couple of geodes at opposite sides of a room, because geodes have a very nurturing, loving energy. So you're pushing the energies together instead of taking them apart. So that's really good. Or rose quartz, of course. If you put rose quartz into a room, a nice big piece of rose quartz on the coffee table, it's surprising how much the energy in the room will change to a much more loving energy, where people begin to sort of feel a little bit more empathy and compassion, instead of like angst or anxiety, or maybe snapping at each other, things like that. And the other thing, of course, is to put pieces of chungai and pieces of tourmaline, in front of all your electrical equipment, in front of your mobile phone, because I know people are told not to put it by their bed. But I think every mother I've ever spoken to says, I need my phone. I need it by my bed in case the children need me, or my mum needs me, or whatever. So people know they shouldn't take their mobile phones into their bedroom, but they do. And just by popping a piece of tourmaline, a black tourmaline in
Yeah.
front, or shungite in front of it,
Mm.
it will stop that field of energy. I can't use a mobile phone close to my ear because I'm so sensitive that my eardrum burns and my head literally gets so hot, it's painful. It's like a real throb headache in my ear. So probably the first mobile phone I ever had, I had big issues with. And my partner at the time, it was my second husband, and he'd worked 17 years at NASA, so he was a real scientist. So
Okay.
for me, he was brilliant because we could share so many conversations about the energies of crystals, which was great because they do a lot of tests on them at NASA. So that was wonderful. But we was fortunate enough to go up and down many times to DERA, the Ministry, our Ministry of Defence up in where is it now? I was going to say Herefordshire, but it's not far away. It's on the way to London. We used to call in all the time, and
It's
then we'd go
just
to
like Berkshire way, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, and we used to go there because my husband was working with some making some videos at the time with them to promote what they do, to make them more, what's the word when people want to see the more glamorous effect of so people don't mind the government spending money on them, I suppose. But so we were going up there, and one of the things they did is they tested the mobile phones in a vacuum, and they sort of were doing some tests for me, and because my husband was interested as well, but mostly because I wanted to know what happens when somebody rings a mobile phone because my ears hurt. And they did some tests, and they said, well, yes, there is this energy that is created in the vacuum. So we put like lots of mobile phones and we rang them all at the same time and was trying to see, how much energy is released when the phones start ringing. But it was all inconclusive because obviously you need to open the phone and you need to get the signal and all these things.
Of course.
But it was very interesting. And so I always use my phone on speaker. So I've always got headphones, and now I've got iPods, and so I never have the phone next to my ear at all because they do have an energy that it messes about with my electromagnetic field. It's simple. It just, I can't be in close proximity to the mobile phone, and I'm sure
Which
a lot of
shungite is perfect for kind of counteracting, if you will.
it is. Yes, I mean we do have in Happy Glastonbury now. We have some little stick-on shapes of shungite to put on the back of your phone, which is useful, but I still think you shouldn't have your phone next to your ear,
No. Yeah, absolutely. And a little bit about marrying the right sort of stones with the right kind of chakra for people that would prefer to go down that route. Have you got any advice for that sort of thing? I know, like in Happy Glastonbury now, you have got like the chakra jewelry with all the like the rainbow stones and all the rest of it there. But
Yeah.
is there any advice that you could give? I know it's very person centered, but a generalized advice about the right stones with the right chakras.
I think it depends on what you're looking to work with, what you're looking to heal on the body. So that would have, it's you have
If
to
we're
be a bit of
talking more about the stress and sort of anxiety routes that people are facing at the moment, that would be the
right.
best to start, if that's okay.
Yeah, well, most of anxiety and stress is caused by the lower chakras because they're, you're not grounded, and the high. This okay, it's a long conversation, this one, so I'm going to try and be brief. But basically,
Okay,
we
thank
have
you.
7 major chakras, and they all
Yeah.
relate to something different on the body. So your crown chakra relates to obviously your connection to source or the divine, and your third eye, of course, relates to your psychic intuition and things. Your throat chakra relates to how you vocalize, how you communicate, and your heart chakra is obviously the way you open up to the world, or who you show yourself to be to the world. And then you've got these lower 3 ones, which are in sort of the abdomen. So you've got one just below the heart, and then you've got one on your sort of belly button, and then you've got one which is your grounding one, which is below that. So it sits right at the bottom of the pelvis. So that's going to be your root. So those 3 chakras, which are kind of within the sort of 12 inches of your tummy, are mostly responsible for all our anxieties and things, because when we have control of those, then we are thinking about things with our emotions and our analytic mind. So we bring them together, and then you can reach a kind of balance. So yes, somebody's upset you today, but does it really upset you? How badly does that upset you? Does it really affect you? Is it really going to change your world? That kind of thing, because many times we stress about things that really, if we could take a step back and just use, I don't know if you've heard of the Ho'oponopono approach.
No, I haven't.
The Ho'oponopono approach is a Hawaiian healing method. And again, I've seen it in many, many different cultures. So it's one of those things where once you know what it is and you know how it works, it's brilliant. And what it is, it kind of detaches you. And that's what we need to do to be less stressful. We need to be present. And to be present, we mustn't keep thinking about the past, and we don't want to worry about tomorrow. We've got to think about what I'm doing today, to enjoy today. So to enjoy today, you say to each and everything in your life. So this is whether it's an animate or inanimate object, so person, place, or thing. You say to them, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you for the message. I love you.
Okay.
Because the theory is that we are all interconnected. It is an interconnected web that we're all part of. So everything and every piece of what's furniture in your home, every person in your home, you're connected to. And because we're connected, that of course causes a lot of our stress because we're picking up on that. So if you say to every person, place, and thing in your life, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you for the message. I love you. What you're saying is, if I was to say this to you, Dan, I would say, Dan, I'm sorry that I didn't recognize that you are a facet of the divine when we came on this program today. I would have treated you better. I would have thought about you differently. It's that whole thing about being present. So I'm sorry. Forgive me for not noticing that, because I'm so busy in my own little world. I'm so full of my own little things. I just need to step back and go, I need to give you that minute. So I'm sorry I didn't, and then you say, thank you for the message, because you've reminded me that you and I are part of the same energy. We have energy between us, and we're part of the divine's creation. And then you say, I love you because I love myself. And they call that cleaning and clearing. And what you do when you say that is you clean and clear your energy, your space, your aura, which is those few feet or few yards, depending how sensitive you are, or few meters that go on, depending where you are and who you're with. You're cleaning that space constantly. And as you clean that space,
negative baggage. Yeah.
That's right, because we don't need to, you have your life, I have my life, but we are connected, whether it was a coincidence or not, as people will argue. You've asked me to come on the show today, and I've agreed to come on the show today, and so this is what's happened. So there's an end result to that. But to everybody out there, we are all connected. I'm connected to everybody who's going to be watching this today, however many or few that might be, and we make a difference. Our words make a difference, and our aura, our energy makes a difference. If you was to just sit there and not say a word, you would make a difference. People would pick up on your energy. And if you were sat there being calm, and every time I walked past in my day and I had you on a screen and I saw Dan and he was sat there really calm, it would make me calm. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if you were sat there really stressed and sort of shaking or whatever, being really worked up about something, I would be worked up
Pick
too.
up on that. Yeah.
And that's the thing, really. So going back to when you say crystals for different chakras, there's so much to any holistic therapy, because you've got to know about you've got to know about the aura, you've got to know about the chakras, you've got to know about all the spiritual different lessons and things. And the funny thing is, when you know it all, then you have to forget it all. To make it simple.
And you know it all on a personal basis as well. What works for one person may not necessarily work for the other. I mean, we're drawn to so many things that help you in the same way, but I mean, you've got to connect personally with with certain things and kind of make it's the right fit for you as well.
That's right. I mean, I've seen some miraculous healings with crystals, and I don't ever think that it's me that does the healing. When I've been doing my healing practice, it's not me. I literally open up, I make sure my channel is clear, I connect to the divine, and then I literally try to reconnect that person to the divine so they can do it themselves. That's all I'm doing. I'm just providing a channel.
Helping someone help themselves. Exactly.
That's right. Because if they can't do it for themselves, they'll never do it. That's the thing. So I have to keep my energy clear. I just have to be a channel. And then I'm hoping that that person then, you know, will benefit from that and be able to find that connect. It's like when somebody can't pray because they're too angry at God or the universe or the divine or whoever, and they can't pray anymore. And so sometimes they just need somebody to really just, that prayer is a connection, you know, whether it's a rosary bead prayer that you're going to go round and do,
Yeah,
or a little mantra in your head, or whether it's just saying I love you to life and the world around you. You know, it's a little prayer. And sometimes we're so, it's not that we're unwell, but we're so stressed and we're so, our aura gets so dense that we just can't untangle it ourselves. So crystals for me, because of that piezoelectricity, they're able to just resonate with you, and they can just stop maybe a bad situation getting worse. And when that happens, it
exactly.
allows healing to take place, and that's the beauty of it.
Thank you so much, Mariana. It's been so helpful, and I do hope that anyone, even one person that's watched this today, might be able to help themselves again. I do believe Happy Glastonbury will be opening on April the 12th again, so people
Hopefully,
can
yeah.
get the fabulous wares that you have there, and that's absolutely fantastic. It's exactly
Thank
what I
you.
hope. So thank you so much indeed for your time.
Thank you, and thank you for asking me, Dan, and thank you to the beautiful cafe which you've put on here. This is a marvelous, marvelous
Yeah.
vehicle for getting to people, so that's lovely. Do you know, we do have an online business, so if you're looking for answers to something or anything I've said and you're not quite sure about what I've said, you can write to us. Go on to Happy Glastonbury online. It's www. That's right, fabulous. I can see it come up. And just literally say, you know, I've listened to this beautiful cafe interview today or whatever, and this is my question or whatever you have. And if you need something, I can't get back to you necessarily straight away, but I do have hundreds of people write to me every week, so you know, I will get to you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good that you've got lots of people writing to you, but yes, thank you again. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for the wonderful information.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you for asking me.
You're welcome. Take care.
Bye.